At this time, Qianfeng certainly knew what kind of turmoil his challenge would bring to the Land of Order, but what does this have to do with him? Anyway, when he arrives at the Land of Order, he will not be using the identity of a Blue Star Civilization player. When Qianfeng completed the challenge, the system prompt sounded in his mind. 9 Scourge Elves flew towards him. Since Qianfeng was the first person to pass the survival challenge of the Scourge Ancient God from ancient times to now, the 9 Scourge Elves now have a much better attitude towards him than at the beginning. The Blood Elf came elegantly, and the red light ball flew in front of Qianfeng with appreciation in his voice. Shadow, congratulations. You have passed the survival challenge set by Lord Utos. In addition, I have to thank you for letting our Storm Sister out. When these words came, Qianfeng looked stunned. Don't look at Qianfeng's puzzled face now. In fact, Qianfeng already understood the specific situation. Just now, these natural disaster elves chatted for a while in the ancient language. The content of the chat was that the Sakura player, Taixiang Okamoto, who had disrespected the Storm Elves before, had just died. Since Taixiang Okamoto died, his ranking would disappear. So the 9 natural disaster elves were able to learn the news at the first time. Good guy. Taixiang Okamoto. It's so unlucky that he just ran into my gun. Qianfeng felt a little dreamy. This time, he accidentally eliminated an old guy who was living a good life. Or was he an existence that had been in the Land of Order for hundreds of years? That guy, if he faced me head on now, I'm afraid I wouldn't be his opponent. After all, he has developed in the Land of Order for hundreds of years. I didn't expect him to die like this. Qianfeng sighed a little. And Qianfeng also knew how Taixiang Okamoto offended the Storm Elves before. At that time, Taixiang Okamoto, who came to participate in the challenge, actually said that the voice of the Storm Elf was very similar to his dead wife, and said that he wanted to talk to the Storm Elf more, so he frantically chatted with it, and was directly regarded by the elves as teasing the Storm Elf. We can't leave here, and we can't pass information to the outside. We can only entrust a challenger behind to go to the Land of Order and target that Taixiang Okamoto. It seems that there has never been a very good effect. I didn't expect that this time because of the decline in ranking. That guy died automatically. The natural disaster elves were very happy, but Qianfeng still acted very confused and surprised, as if he didn't know why they were happy. In this way, maybe he can get more information from the other party's chat later. And when the 9 natural disaster elves flew in front of Qianfeng suddenly heard the system prompt again. Since you have passed the survival challenge, according to the message of the Calamity Ancient God, you can choose one of the Calamity Elves to take away and make it your follower, of course. This requires the consent of the elves you choose to take effect. If no elves are willing to leave with you, you will not be able to take any Calamity Elves with you. This system prompt made Qianfeng's eyes light up. Can I take one of the Calamity Elves away as a follower? Isn't this too cool? You know, these 9 little guys are at the same level as the skeleton, God General, Great Swordsman, Terramon, and are the followers of the Ancient God. It's just that one is divided into 9, each in charge of a kind of calamity element energy. It seems that the harvest of this challenge will be very rich. Qianfeng couldn't help laughing. At this time, a ball of green light also flew in front of Qianfeng, flickering non-stop, like a star blinking. Shadow. Next, I will give out rewards. Please choose. Choose. This is the cute Storm Elf. When it flew over and chose to give out rewards, different skill options appeared in front of Qianfeng, like the Great Swordsman Terramon on the side of the God of Bones. The reward presented to Qianfeng was an inherited skill, and he needed to choose one from them. However, the Great Swordsman Terramon gave Qianfeng 3 options. Here, the natural disaster elves gave him 9 options, each representing a natural disaster element. To be honest, Qianfeng was a little dazzled for a while, but soon, he focused his attention on one of the skills. I'll choose this skill. Like the Bone Eviscerating Blade, this is also a divine skill, and it is a very rare control releasing skill, Hand of Disaster Ancient level. Divine skill. It can be released in any state, consuming 21 points of divinity, driving the power of Dark Elemental Disaster, and condensing into the Hand of Disaster. The Hand of Disaster can tear off all its negative states. Throw the negative state to the enemy, or tear off all the buff states on the enemy and give the buff states to friendly units. This skill has no cooldown. Although Qianfeng currently has a high inviolability affix, if he encounters a control effect at the level of divine rules, he will not be able to resist. For example, if the opponent has also collected 3 skeleton god runes, and the opponent also has a skeleton power ring that can make him kneel, then if the opponent makes Qianfeng kneel, Qianfeng has to kneel. Because it is a divine special effect of divine weapons, general control release and hegemony are invalid. Only skills that are also divine special skills can deal with this kind of means. The Hand of Disaster is such a means. In the future, I will encounter many disgusting divine rules or special effects With the Hand of Disaster, I can adapt to many situations. The state that is beneficial to the enemy will become beneficial to me. The state that is harmful to me will become harmful to the enemy. The only pity is that this skill does not seem to be very high end. It only consumes 21 points of divinity. If I encounter a high level divine control skill in the future, this Hand of Disaster will not be able to be solved. Of course. This is something that needs to be considered in the future. What's more, as long as it is a skill, Qinfeng can evolve it. Maybe after the evolution in the future, this disadvantage can be eliminated to a certain extent. Just after Qinfeng made a choice, accompanied by a system prompt, a divine skill called Hand of Disaster appeared in Qinfeng's skill column. From then on, even if the opponent has a control type divine skill, Qinfeng can use Hand of Disaster to solve it at any time and then throw it to the opponent. Even more than just control skills, Qinfeng currently has many divine special skills and divine weapons, many of which are negative status types, such as the Kneeling of the Skeleton Power, the Death Poison of the Goddess of Death, the Damage Reduction, Claws Invalidation of the Bone Picking Blade, and so on. There are also many key special effects that are not divine rules, such as the Frost Spine of the World Ice Ridge Boots, and the Inviolable Affix that can weaken the target by attacking. All of this can be removed by using the Hand of Disaster. It can be seen from this that this skill is such a perverted and heaven-defying skill. As long as the consumption of divinity can be increased, this skill can restrain everything. After obtaining this skill, Qinfeng saw that there were 3 more empty slots in the bloodline column of his bloodline interface. Next, it will be a bit difficult to choose 3 bloodline columns. Which bloodline should I choose? And these 9 natural disaster elves can take one away as a follower. Which one should I choose? Qinfeng was entangled all of a sudden. Of course, Qinfeng noticed that if he wanted to take the Scourge elves away as followers, the Scourge elves themselves had to agree. If they didn't agree, then it would be useless for Qinfeng to choose anyone. So, Qinfeng suddenly realized that the key to this choice didn't seem to lie with him, but with the Scourge elves. Qinfeng coughed, glanced at the 9 different colored elf light balls around him, and asked tentatively, "So, are there any of you willing to go out and play with me?" This made people feel like a weird uncle coaxing a little girl, but the Scourge elves didn't think there was anything wrong. A ball of holy white light floated in front of Qinfeng. It was the holy light elf, representing the light element. It laughed softly. "Challenger, you need to know that if you choose one of us as a follower, there will be one less element in this survival challenge. In this way, it may be easier for challengers who come in later to do the survival challenge, which will threaten your ranking. Please make sure to confirm this." Qinfeng was a little surprised when he heard this, but it made sense. Originally, the 9 natural disaster elements in this survival challenge all came from these 9 natural disaster elves. If one of them is missing, of course one element will be missing, resulting in a lower difficulty in the survival challenge. This situation is completely within the expectations of the ancient god of natural disaster. But for me, there is no need to worry about this. After all, my current performance has far surpassed others. Such a survival challenge may have many ways to deal with it for the strong in the Land of Order. But for the reincarnation players who have no memory of the godforsaken game, it is simply as difficult as ascending to heaven. Qinfeng analyzed and found that if he only took away a natural disaster elf, it would not be a big problem. The overall difficulty of this survival challenge will not be weakened too much. Okay, I confirmed. Qinfeng answered the holy light elf solemnly, and then asked, "So what you mean is I can choose anyone? You have different elements, so your abilities should be completely different, right?" 2 curved lines appeared on the white light ball of the holy light elf, like a pair of smiling crescents. Of course our abilities are different, as the followers assigned to you by Lord Utos. We will not be harmed in the outside world, but if you die, we will also perish correspondingly. We can always follow you and provide you with various benefits. For example, the benefit I can provide is to restore 7% of your maximum health every 0.1 seconds. This benefit is regarded as a divine rule, and the priority will be equal to the equipment with the highest divine limit on you, or the same as your own divinity. Qinfeng understood this. If you choose the Holy Light Elf as a follower, then Qinfeng will recover 7% of his health every 0.1 seconds in the future. This will be his fixed effect, and it is regarded as a divine rule. This divinity rule does not consume divinity, but its priority is equal to Qinfeng's own divinity, or the equipment with the highest divinity limit on him, in other words. Now, the equipment with the highest divinity limit on Qinfeng is the White Bud Blade. and the upper limit of divinity that can be stored is 1200 points, then the effect of restoring 7% of health every 0.01 seconds is regarded as a divinity rule that consumes 1200 points of divinity. No weak healing skills or forbidden healing orders can eliminate this recovery effect unless the opponent has a forbidden healing or weak healing divine stunt or divine weapon that consumes more than 1200 points of divinity. So strong. After figuring out the role of the Scourge Elf's followers, Qinfeng couldn't help but exclaim that it was abnormal just for this Holy Light Elf, restoring 7% of health every 0.01 seconds. What does this mean? It can restore 700% of blood per second, which is equivalent to 7 lives. Of course, in future battles, as the speed of players and opponents increases, the measurement unit of battle time will become shorter and shorter. But there is no doubt that once the Holy Light Elf's follower effect is obtained, it will be invincible. However, Qinfeng does not intend to directly choose the Holy Light Elf as a follower. Although this elf is very gentle, Qinfeng is not a voice control, so he still has to look at the effects of the Scourge Elf. Soon, the gentle Holy Light Elf introduced Qinfeng to the follower effect of each Scourge Elf. The follower effect of the Secret Water Elf is to gain a shield of 7% of the maximum health every 0.01 seconds, and increase the shield limit because it is regarded as a divine rule. Shield breaking orders such as Shield Disintegration cannot take effect, also known as Real Shield. The follower effect of the Wildfire Spirit is that every time an enemy is killed, one layer of the fiery effect is stacked, and the basic fire element attack power is increased by 7%, up to 100 layers, and the duration is 10 seconds. Each stacking effect will refresh the duration. It must be said that this effect directly multiplies the basic fire element attack power by 7 times, which is quite amazing. The only drawback is that the duration is too short, but the ancient equipment and skills have entries that increase the duration of skills and special effects, as long as the equipment is well matched. This effect is simply invincible. It's a pity that Qinfeng has no fire element damage, at least not for the time being, so the possibility of choosing this one is very small. As Qinfeng learned about the respective effects of these natural disaster elves as followers, he compared and thought about it and quickly came up with a priority of choice. I'd first choose Storm Elf, which can increase my movement speed and flight speed. The second choice is Frost Elf, which can increase my control strength and control resistance. The third choice is Death Poison Elf, which can increase my poison damage and make my poison damage have a killing effect. At present, Qinfeng's actions on Blue Star are enough to be overbearing with his current strength, so what Qinfeng needs to consider is the situation he will face after going to the Blue Civilization or even the Land of Order. Speed is always the first priority. The second is control strength and control resistance, both survivability and controllability. Then there is damage and killing. The poison damage strengthened by the Death Poison Elf will be regarded as a divine rule and cannot be easily dispelled. This choice is too difficult. I'm not a child anymore. Can I have them all? Qinfeng sighed, as if seeing Qinfeng's entanglement and difficulty in making a choice. The Holy Light Elf showed a gentle smile. Lord Utos has ordered that after the challenger passes the level, he can be given a second chance to challenge when your level is increased by 20. You can collect 3 more Calamity Runes and participate in the special challenge prepared for you again. If you can pass the level again, then you can take one of us away. Of course, there are no more than 3 such opportunities, and you can take up to 3 of us when that day comes. You will encounter a surprise. What is the surprise? The Holy Light Elf didn't say. It was obviously another Riddler. But Qinfeng was relieved after hearing the news. It seems to be the same as the Skeleton God. As long as you perform well, you can come again in the future. Unlike ordinary player, you can only come in once. However, the condition for me to come in next time is to upgrade to level 60. And this is a reincarnation challenge, so the challenge must be completed during the reincarnation period. This is easy to do. After all, it will definitely not be so fast for the Blue Star Civilization to sublimate. Qinfeng felt that he could still easily meet this condition. In total, you can survive this challenge and get 3 Scourge Elf followers. If it really succeeds, there will be a surprise. What will this surprise be? Of course, Qinfeng couldn't think of it now. So at this time, he returned to the choice. Then Storm Elf's sister, come with me, Qinfeng asked tentatively. Hearing Qinfeng say this, the vibrant light green light ball flickered twice and seemed a little frustrated. Thank you for choosing me, Challenger, but Lord Utos has made restrictions. I can't be the first to leave here. Hearing this, Qinfeng was a little depressed. As a follower, this Storm Elf can permanently increase the final movement speed and attack speed by 70%. And most importantly, it will be immune to any deceleration effect. As long as the speed is fast enough, death can't catch up with me. Of course, If the opponent has a deceleration rule that consumes more than 1200 divinity, it will still be restrained, but the effect of the elf follower will increase the priority as Qinfeng's equipment improves. Now Qinfeng has the highest divinity limit on his equipment, the White Bud Blade, which is the reward from the first place in the End Road, but it won't be long before it becomes the Blade of Judgment. What a pity. The Storm Elf cannot be the first to leave here because of the restrictions set by the ancient god of natural disasters, Utos. This made Qinfeng a little confused. Is there something special about this Storm Elf? In that case, I'll choose the Frost Elf. Are you willing to come with me? Qinfeng looked at the cold and aloof ice blue elf in the field. This elf sister is quiet and has a very cold personality, but she is also quite effective as a follower. Are you sure? The cold frost elf asked a rhetorical question. Sure. Qinfeng nodded. Okay. The ice blue light of the frost elf flickered twice, and then turned into an ice blue light, like an ice blue river, circling Qinfeng. The elf has taken over. Qinfeng was a little surprised at the frost elf's straightforwardness, and at the same time he heard the system prompt, congratulations on obtaining the Disaster Follower Frost Elf, NA. Inherent Attribute 1. You have obtained 777% of the final control strength.
Bet.
Inherent Attribute Chai. You have obtained 700% of the final control resistance. You have acquired the active skill Divine Stunt, Ice Disaster. Consume all your divinity and summon frost to cover a large area of the surrounding space. All units within the range will be frozen and become vulnerable. Any damage received will be increased by 200%, but they will be thawed by being attacked. Fixed cooldown time is 7 days. Note 1. Ice Disaster is used by you and the Scourge follower together. After using it, the Scourge follower will fall into a 3-day dormancy. The inherent attributes are still effective during the dormancy period. Note 2. The range of Ice Disaster is total divinity consumed 0, 7 meters, and the duration is total divinity consumed D 7 seconds. In addition to 707% control strength and control resistance, there is also a Divine Stunt with a very long cooldown time, Ice Disaster. This skill can be said to be an absolute killer move. With Qinfeng's current damage, as long as he casts Ice Disaster, freezing the target and making it vulnerable with the damage increased by 200%. What boss can't be killed in seconds? The disadvantage is that the cooldown is too long. It is impossible to use it unless it is a critical moment. This move will also consume all my divinity. If all my equipment is full of divinity now, the total consumption will be 1973 divinity points. The range is 1381 meters, and the duration is 1381 seconds. It's so powerful. Although Qinfeng is not a mage, this skill is equivalent to the forbidden spell level skill of the magic system. In Qinfeng's impression, Tang Jun, the Ice Mage, who arrived at the Land of Order before, has never released such a large-scale and high-durations control skills. As expected of the Scourge Elf, under the throne of the ancient god of Scourge, Qinfeng smacked his lips. At the same time, when he obtained 707% of the final control resistance and control strength, his control ability was comparable to that of a top player team. With Qinfeng's super high inviolable affix, no one can control him now, and any of his control skills can eliminate hundreds of inviolable affixes of the target, and the control degree and duration will be improved accordingly. After the Frost Elf took over, Qinfeng always felt a little chilly. At this time, he looked at the follower panel, which is the specific attributes of the Frost Elf. It turned out that most of them were question marks. But there was only one thing. In terms of grade, it actually showed original primary. Are these Scourge Elves of such a high grade? Qinfeng was stunned. Original primary things. Qinfeng has only come into contact with 3 things so far. The original primary Judgment Authority, the original primary weapon Judgment Blade, and the original primary talent obtained because of the Authority, Infinite Evolution. This elf is actually original primary. Doesn't it mean that they have many more powerful functions that have not been developed? Qinfeng thought to himself. Sister, you must come back again. The little sister of the Storm Elf looked a little reluctant and worried. After all, once Qinfeng died, the Frost Elf, as Qinfeng's follower, would also disappear completely. The Frost Elf did not return to the form of a light ball on Qinfeng, but still said a sentence. Don't worry. I believe in this challenger. He is different from ordinary people. After saying this, Qinfeng received another private chat message, which was from the Frost Elf. Please let me know. What is the highest divinity limit of your equipment? When you need it, I can temporarily provide 100 points of divinity limit for this equipment. Hearing this, Qinfeng was a little surprised. This elf follower has this function.
It seems that,
just as he thought, there are still many functions of this elf to be developed. However, this 100-point divinity limit is unnecessary. Qinfeng smiled and chatted back. The dagger in my hand has a divinity limit of 1200 points. As soon as these words came out, Qinfeng could clearly feel that the ice blue aura surrounding him seemed to freeze for a moment. 1200 points of divinity limit? Is this equipment possible for a level 40 player? The Frost Elf was stunned on the spot. You know, the mythical divine weapons at level 40 have a divinity cap of only a few dozen points, not more than 100 points. Even for the ancient divine weapons, it is rare to have a divinity cap of over 100 points. After all, this level is too low. But this Blue Star human assassin, codenamed Shadow, actually has equipment with a divinity cap of 200 points. By the way, this dagger was made by other players, and her soul is also there. Maybe you can say hello? Qian Feng pinched the soft part of the white bud blade. Ah! Baya screamed on the spot. How did your soul energy suddenly become so powerful? You have been promoted to an ancient god? Qian Feng was speechless and sent a soul message. I have a Scourge Elf follower attached to me. What you see is the soul of the Scourge Elf, right? After all, it is a primary Scourge Elf. Its soul strength, in Baya's eyes, is like that of an ancient god, which seems quite normal. Scandal Elf, follower. This made Baya's brain crash. Wait, it can't be the Scourge Elf that appeared in the survival challenge of the Scourge Ancient God. You collected that elf as a follower? Are you kidding me? During her reincarnation, she did not participate in the survival challenge of the Scourge Ancient God, but a friend in her Haixing Sing civilization participated and told her about the corresponding situation. Compared to Baya's shock, the Frost Elves here were also shocked, but the shock was different. What? You actually won the first place in the first stage of the End Road? Is this weapon the reward? The Frost Elves obviously knew the existence of the End Road, but they were trapped in this challenge area, so they were blocked from the news. The Frost Elf was shocked at first, and then relieved that Qian Feng actually won the first place in the End Road. No wonder with such strength, no wonder he can pass the survival challenge of Lord Utos. So Shadow, you have the power of at least one ancient god, right? Don't worry. According to the agreement, I won't ask you which ancient god's power you have. According to the current situation, we will also assist you with all our strength. These words made Qian Feng think. It seems to reveal some information, but it seems not to reveal. It's useless to think too much. Then, the Frost Elf said goodbye to the other 8 elves and parted ways. Qian Feng also got all the rewards that could be obtained from this survival challenge. If he has other questions, he can ask at any time with the Frost Elf. It's time to go back. Qian Feng sighed a little. This survival challenge took him 10 days. During this time, Qian Feng could not hear any prompts from the Blue Star Civilization server, and he couldn't even log off. Fortunately, with Qian Feng's current physical attributes, he would not die even if he did not eat for a year. But because of the influence of the Soul Devourer bloodline, Qian Feng always felt hungry, so a layer of ice blue light surrounded Qian Feng's body, taking him back to the godforsaken game world. By the way, how should I call you in the future? Do you natural disaster elves have your own names? Qian Feng asked the Frost Elf in a private chat. The Frost Elf responded coldly, yes, but our names are unique ancient divine characters and cannot be translated into your Daxia characters. Fuck? Qian Feng sighed secretly, worthy of being a primary natural disaster elf. This is a high class. He smiled and simply said in the ancient divine language, it's okay. Which character is the derivative of several times? How many levels of derivatives are there? Tell me. I will give you a Daxia name. At present, Qian Feng has basically mastered the false language of the ancient divine language, and he has begun to explore the derivative rules of the true language of the ancient divine language. He has studied many unique ancient divine language characters, including the ancient divine language name of Ashashis, which is an extremely complex three-dimensional character, which is translated as Ashashis. Qian Feng already has a good idea of the spelling and pronunciation rules of some ancient divine language characters, but Qian Feng is unable to create his own ancient divine language because he has no divinity. Hearing Qian Feng's ancient divine language, the Frost Elf fell silent. It never expected that this human assassin could speak the ancient divine language, and he spoke it very well. Doesn't that mean that when they chatted with each other in the ancient divine language before, they were all heard by this human assassin? But the Frost Elf was a little helpless. Qian Feng had never heard of it from the beginning to the end. I said he didn't know the ancient language, so this is not a lie. Learned the ancient language in less than 3 months. You asked me about the derivation level of characters. It seems that the derivation rules of the real language are involved. The Frost Elf felt a little dizzy. She felt, isn't this human assassin a little too omnipotent? A master of time management? This made the Frost Elf wonder if this human assassin had inherited the authority of the ancient god of time. Of course, in the end, the Frost Elf did not hide her real name in the ancient language. Qian Feng gave her a Daxia name based on spelling and pronunciation. Lingche, God Abandoned Game, Coconut Country Game Zone. When Qian Feng's death wings spread out behind him, and the light blue glow of the Frost Elf, Lingche, surrounded him. When he returned to the coast, his shadow perception suddenly told him, in the woods on the coast, there was a girl dressed as a schoolgirl, looking sneaky. Of course, it was not that Qinfeng was particularly interested in schoolgirls. It was that the girl's clothes had Mr. Shadow. Please meet me. I need your help, written on the chest. A total of 12 words, written in black handwriting on the white student shirt uniform. The whole person was wearing a very pure and cute makeup, but the facial features made Qinfeng feel a little familiar. Wait, isn't this the president of the Coconut Country Guild? Sarah, whose talent fighting art I took away. Qinfeng took a look and was a little stunned. To be honest, the talent taken from that woman in this survival challenge of the natural disaster, Ancient God did play a big role. After releasing the melee skill, the long-range damage doubled. After releasing the range skill, the melee damage doubles. Whether it is Qinfeng's early Shadow Blade or the later Poison Dart, many of them have benefited from this part of the increase, which has brought great benefits to Qinfeng. She has lost her talent and wants me to give her the talent back. Qinfeng's mouth curled up slightly. He just happened to have something to find her. In this case, let's meet her directly. However, last time it was a female pirate, and she looked pretty good. Why is she a schoolgirl this time? The makeup is so pure, I almost didn't recognize her. The death wings behind Qinfeng flapped, and he instantly came to the grove. After all, he was here to chat, so Qinfeng did not hide. When he descended into the grove like an angel of death, the female player, Sarah, dressed as a schoolgirl, was shocked on the spot. She had been waiting here for a long time, but she never waited for Shadow to appear. In fact, she almost wanted to give up and wanted to find other ways, such as diplomacy, to try to contact Shadow. But she didn't expect that the person she had been thinking about would suddenly appear in front of her, and it seems even more handsome. Sarah looked at Qinfeng, who seemed to be surrounded by the power of frost, and felt a sense of fear. It was as if she was facing not a player, but a powerful existence far beyond her imagination. Of course, it seems to be true, in fact. Qinfeng's strength is beyond her imagination. You want to see me? Qinfeng's eyes under the mask glanced at her expressionlessly. Last time I saw you, you were still a female pirate? Your style has changed quickly? After hearing Qinfeng's words, Sarah finally reacted and woke up from a dream. Shadow is coming? Shadow really came to find her? This made her excited. Her heartbeat accelerated. And then she lowered her head a little shyly. I heard that Mr. Shadow likes little Lolita, so I want to try KOS, Mr. Shadow. Do you like this? Qinfeng glanced at her chest. I thought, this has nothing to do with little Lolita, right? This woman's capital. Where is it small? Of course. This is not the point. Qinfeng was too lazy to talk to her, and went straight to the point. Stop talking nonsense. I know you want to get your talent back, although this is not impossible. You have to tell me, what can you do for me? Hearing this, Sarah seemed a little disappointed. She thought, it seems that Shadow doesn't like this student girl's dress. So she raised her head, looked at Qinfeng with a pair of watery eyes, and said tentatively, if Mr. Shadow doesn't like this, I can still be a doctor. I can solve some local hardening problems for you. Qinfeng was silent when he heard it. This woman, what a talent. This statement sounds fine at first, but if you think about it carefully, it's a bit wrong. Forget it. Qinfeng thought about it. And this woman didn't seem to know that Luti Hill's two-headed phoenix was arranged by Qinfeng. He simply said directly, if you want to get your talent back, you should cooperate with the two-headed phoenix that came to your Coconut Country and secretly lead her to the ruins of various cities in the Coconut Country until she can be promoted to a mythical boss. Are you willing? Ah! Sarah was stunned when she heard this request. She really didn't expect that the two-headed phoenix seemed to be arranged by Shadow. This shocked her and made her feel a little embarrassed. Mr. Shadow, although I am very willing to help you, Coconut Country is my motherland. Qinfeng raised his eyebrows and asked, why? Do you have to pay more? Sarah almost cried. No, Mr. Shadow. If so, I will become a traitor, and I will be sorry for hundreds of millions of Coconut Country citizens? Qinfeng asked back. There are still 100 million people in Coconut Country now? Sarah was a little embarrassed. There should be less than 100 million alive at present, but this is not the point. Qinfeng paused. So what do you mean? Refuse, Sarah said quickly. No, I mainly consider the feasibility sexual issues you see. I don't have any talent now, and my combat power has plummeted. Even if I want to lure the two-headed phoenix, it's difficult to cross the city ruins, Qinfeng said. If you encounter other monsters, the phoenix will help you solve them. In addition, I will prepare a ring for you. With this ring, you can stay invisible for a long time, and you have a level 15 stealth level. Ordinary players can't see you, but the phoenix can see you and use you as a target to break through the action area restrictions. Of course, the properties of this ring are also good, which can make up for the output you lost because you have no talent. Sarah was a little nervous when she heard it. A ring? Can the ring that Shadow can give be an ordinary ring? But the key is, Sarah's heart is still very entangled. She really can't do it like this to lure the boss to kill her compatriots in her own country. Even if Qin Feng said he would give her a ring, she was still very uneasy. Although she usually has a strong aura and seems to be fearless, she still has a certain degree of loyalty to her own country. It seems that he can see her entanglement. Kan Feng said lightly, "The reason why I want to let you do it is that I don't want to waste my time. If you refuse or can't do it well, then I can only do it myself and raise Lutesul to the mythical level. If I do it myself, the citizens of your coconut country will not just have their lifespan shortened." Mrs. Sarah, you don't want me to do it myself and cause heavy casualties in your coconut country, right? If Osilio were present, he would definitely sneer. This kind of rhetoric again. The last time Qin Feng used this kind of rhetoric was to Songxia Xingyue of Sakura country. However, the reason why this saying has become a classic is that it really works. When Qin Feng said this, Sarah immediately changed her attitude. She was originally a little entangled and hesitant, but she made up her mind in an instant. I know, Sarah nodded. Then asked cautiously, "Can I take a look at the properties of the ring first?" In the past 10 days, she has not participated in any battles because of her lack of talent, which has caused many people in the guild to speculate if her strength cannot return to the level when she has talent, then it is hard to say how long she can manage this guild. After all, her guild is full of the top masters of the coconut country, and many of them have the potential to be heroes. Before, they were crushed by Sarah's strength. If her strength weakens, based on her charm and female identity, I'm afraid she will not have a good ending. Qin Feng, I don't have it with me, and you are not at a high enough level. I have to downgrade my equipment. You go home and wait. When Sarah heard the word go home, she immediately showed an I understand expression. Okay, this is my address, Mr. Shadow. Don't worry. My skills should not disappoint you. Qin Feng found the problem and immediately changed his words. Then don't go home and wait. Wait at the cross-border teleportation array. Sarah's eyes widened. Sir, you want to be at the teleportation array? There are people all around. What is in this woman's mind? Nothing else except local hardening. To be honest, Sarah's figure and appearance are indeed quite good among ordinary people. Otherwise, she would not have become the dream lover of countless young people in the ruins of the capital of Coconut Country. But compared with the girls around Qin Feng, there are still some gaps, the most important of which is the temperament. I haven't seen Sister Yuan for so many days, and I miss her. After Qin Feng made an appointment with Sarah, he didn't waste time. He took out the teleportation stone and returned to the hideout of the Evil Spirit Academy in the Daxia game area. He first checked his Abyss Puppet. As a result, he found, the Abyss Puppet is dead. Qin Feng was a little depressed. Because the curse skill of the Abyss Puppet was disabled in the survival challenge, the Abyss Puppet suddenly had no one to control it in the Abyss world, and was killed by the monsters in the Abyss world. It seems that I am still not strong enough. I just idled for a day or two. How could I die? Qin Feng looked at the recovered system records and found that the Abyss Puppet curse was killed by You Are Already Dead, Elv 72. Good guy. Qin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No wonder he died. It was this guy again. Beidou, level 72 brother, has a terrifying combat power. It is normal that he can kill Qin Feng's puppet without anyone controlling him. However, Qin Feng looked at the damage record. He found that this time, Beidou killed Qin Feng's Abyss Puppet, not with one punch, but with 3 punches. It can be seen that Qin Feng's growth rate is still very fast. He was KO'd by 1 punch last time. This time, the same opponent needs 3 punches to kill Qin Feng. During this period, the most important thing for the improvement of the Abyss Puppet is the Slayer. From Qin Feng's evolution to the Ancient level, which further stacks Qin Feng's attributes, but this guy's damage can ignore the injury limit. It seems that this only hidden profession, Internal Boxer, is really powerful. I'm afraid it has advanced to the 6th level. Qin Feng thought to himself that he should also find a way to advance his profession for the 6th time. Now with the Blue Mermaid NPC group, Qin Feng's monster killing speed is much faster than before. Not to mention that there is also the Abyss Greedy Eye that will explode when looking at it, which can allow Qin Feng to gain 2 or 3 times the experience points. Focus on killing monsters, and you can advance the shadow profession to the 6th time in no more than a week. Qin Feng did not rush to set off, but sorted out the news he received these days, mainly from Wanye Weiyu. Representing the official information of Daxia, the second Wasteland spread ended 3 days ago, and the second world spine has also been refreshed, and Qin Feng can go and kill it at any time. The living space of human beings around the world has been squeezed again. During this period, many humans died, but because they were prepared in advance, the number of deaths was much less than the first Wasteland spread. In the reality of Blue Star, there are already quite a few places where disaster areas with 1,000 times the lifespan flow rate have appeared. If I kill the second world spine, won't I just start the third Wasteland spread without stopping? Qinfeng thought a little strangely. He operated it and let the Soul Devourer devour his corpse, explosion skill first, then ran to Sister Yuan's room and let Sister Yuan kill him once, and recreated an Abyss puppet. It's been so long since I brushed an Abyss shrine. It's really unlucky. Could my Abyss Eye of Greed be a fake? Qinfeng sighed. But looking at the material output, it is obviously not less. It is indeed more than 20 to 30 times Sambriam, so that his stripping stones, strengthening stones, and the like are almost full of a box. I can only say that the explosion rate of the Abyss Shrine is really low. In addition, Qinfeng also tried it after he came back last time. After turning the Greedy Hand skill into the Abyss, although the skill name has changed, the same skill cannot be learned again. After all, the Abyss World is a game for all players. It's unlikely that there will be such an obvious bug. Qinfeng still felt a little sorry. The good news is that this time when he comes back, Qinfeng can take out the Abyss Vase again. Although Qinfeng can enter and exit the Abyss World at any time, the Abyss Vase cannot be taken out at any time and anywhere, mainly because there is a cooling time. At first, the cooling time of the Abyss Vase was 2 days, but when Qinfeng obtained 6 Abyss skills, the cooling time was directly extended to 14 days. It seems that this is a rule setting to prevent the same player from graduating too quickly. The last life, when Taiyan Jixing and the other 9 took turns to take out skills, the cooling time did not become longer. Qinfeng was a little depressed. But this time, when he reached out and put it into the Abyss Vase, the system prompt came immediately. You stare into the Abyss, touch the Abyss. Please choose your harvest. Abyss Potential Curse, Epic Abyss, Blood Sea Curse, Legendary? Deta. There are actually 2 options. Abyss Potential Curse. Isn't this what the ghost got? It can double the target or your own attributes for 20 seconds, and then weaken 90% of the attributes for 300 seconds. This curse effect can double Qinfeng's burst. Unfortunately, Qinfeng asked the ghost to try it with him. The negative effect of this curse cannot be blocked by inviolability, so the 90% attribute reduction will be born in real life. But what the hell is this Abyss Blood Sea Curse? Not an epic curse, but a legendary curse. This made Qinfeng curious. Logically, Qinfeng should choose the Abyss Potential Curse. But after all, this newly emerged and unprecedented Abyss Blood Sea Curse is legendary. Let's choose it first. Potential Curse. We'll talk about it later. Qinfeng couldn't hold back his curiosity. Abyss Blood Sea Curse Legendary. Abyss Curse Skill. No occupation restrictions. After release, enter the Blood Sea Curse state. Your attack will cause 1 point of force bleeding damage per second to both you and the target, ignoring invincibility, and the duration is permanent. Turn off the Blood Sea Curse state to remove all bleeding states on you. The shortest interval between casting and turning off this skill is 60 seconds. Passive. Your damage to bleeding unit targets is increased by 100%. What the hell? Permanent bleeding damage. Qinfeng was stunned at a glance. Although the bleeding damage is very low, only 1 point, but the duration is permanent. 100% increase in bleeding damage, although it will cause bleeding to both the enemy and me. I can directly turn off the Blood Sea Curse to remove my own bleeding, and even remove the bleeding status superimposed on me by others, and the enemy, if they want to remove the bleeding status caused by me, they must either die or have a Dispel or Purification skill that exceeds the skill level of mine. However, Qinfeng will definitely evolve this skill to a higher level in the future. At that time, it is conceivable that, unless it is a divine rule, there is no way to remove the bleeding superimposed by this skill. Wait, this bleeding damage lasts forever. If I use Instant Annihilation to settle the continuous damage, how much damage will be calculated? Qinfeng suddenly thought of this question. The effect of Instant Annihilation is to double the continuous damage on the target. So, under the curse of the Abyss Blood Sea, Qinfeng's attack can cause permanent bleeding damage to the target. If the duration is infinite, then the final damage will also be infinite. This godforsaken game cannot have such a bug, but I'm curious, how is this problem solved? Qinfeng narrowed his eyes. It just so happened that he was in the Fairy Yuan's room, so he said to the black-robed fairy who was sitting next to him with her long legs crossed, Sister Yuan, let me ask you a question. If there is a continuous damage with infinite duration, what will happen if you use the settlement of continuous damage? The fairy glanced at him with her purple eyes and chuckled. You will know if you try it. Qinfeng curled his lips. So Sister Yuan has this hobby? You like me to hit you. You can explain it in 1 sentence, and you still let me try it on you. Yuan rolled his eyes at him. Don't talk nonsense. Aren't you afraid that you won't believe it if you say it directly? They are all old acquaintances. So Qinfeng didn't be polite to her, directly released the Curse of the Abyss Blood Sea. And a burst of blood mist and red light instantly wrapped around his Judgment Blade. Then he raised his hand and threw a Shadow Blade at the black-robed fairy, because she was prepared. The direct damage of the Shadow Blade was easily blocked, but she really had a bleeding state on her body, which forced her to deduct 1 point of damage per second. Then, Qinfeng raised his hand and killed her with another knife. The black shadow blade light bloomed on the fairy's black robe. The result? Qinfeng checked the damage composition and found that there was no burst settlement damage for bleeding damage. Since the direct damage of the shadow blade was blocked, the cleavage of the Gift of Liberation was not effective. Only the bleeding from the Abyss Blood Sea Curse. But this instant annihilation failed to settle the bleeding damage. Qinfeng was a little surprised. He couldn't help but ask, could it be that this kind of continuous damage with a permanent duration cannot be settled? Fairy Yuan, right? Qinfeng was speechless. This is too outrageous. If you don't know how to settle, just don't settle it. The ancient god who created this godforsaken game is really lazy. I thought there would be some amazing settings, but then again, the continuous damage with a permanent duration is abnormal enough if it can still be settled. It's really against the sky. Fortunately, Qinfeng's skill is only legendary now and has not evolved yet, so when Fairy Yin raised her hand, a burst of purple light surrounded her, removing the bleeding state on her body. Although she seemed relaxed, she looked at Qinfeng with some emotion in her purple eyes. In fact, this kind of permanent continuous skill is very rare. Even our entire fairy world rarely encounters it. Qinfeng was a little curious. Is your fairy world also one of the sublimated civilizations of the Land of Order? How is the overall strength? And how does it compare with the demon civilization? Fairy Yuan smiled playfully. When sister can go home, I will take you to see it. You haven't been to the Land of Order yet. It's hard to describe it to you, simply, Qinfeng said easily, to let Sister Yuan go home. Even if it is, we have to wait for the blue star to sublimate, the fairy kite said meaningfully. With your current strength, it would be easy to sublimate the blue star. The difference lies in how to sublimate. Qinfeng took the opportunity to ask, does the way a civilization sublimates have an impact on future development? The fairy kite said mysteriously. Sister will tell you the most intuitive, the demon civilization you just mentioned, and the fairy world where sister is, are all sublimated by killing the world spine. This immediately gave Qinfeng a new concept of the level of demon civilization and fairy world. That demon civilization is so awesome. It actually sublimated by killing 5 world spines. Originally, Qinfeng didn't think that the demon civilization was so strong, but now that he knew this news, he realized that the demon civilization is really a giant in the Land of Order. No wonder the demon tamer of the demon civilization, Madman Nuke, has such pride engraved in his bones. So, if the world spine is sublimated, the impact on the future progress of a civilized world will be huge, but I don't know what the specific impact will be. At present, Qinfeng doesn't even know the benefits of civilization, sublimation, let alone the difference brought by the sublimation method. Although he has seen some player memories from the sublimated civilization, those players are not a key figure in promoting the sublimation of civilization, so there is no system prompt about sublimation in his memory. Qinfeng still needs to investigate more information. In this case, this Abyss Blood Sea Curse must evolve. However, this skill does not have the negative effect of being closer to the Abyss. Qinfeng also doesn't know whether this is the effect of him touching 6 Abyss skills alone, or the effect of him obtaining the Abyss Bracelet. In any case, the Abyss Vase seems to be more and more important to Qinfeng now. Thank you Huang Ziqing for sending the Abyss Vase. That kid is still enjoying in the Judgment Cycle, and has no idea how much help the Abyss Vase he found by chance has brought to Qinfeng. Abyss Blood Sea Curse. Evolve. Abyss Blood Sea Curse Legendary, arrive Mythical, arrive Ancient. The shortest interval between casting and closing, 60 arrive, 40 arrive, 20 seconds. Passive. Your damage to bleeding units increases by 100%, arrive 125%, arrive 150%. New special effects for Mythic level. Enemy targets in the bleeding state will also be subject to a continuous slowing effect of 80%, arrive 90%. New special effects for Ancient level. Enemy targets in the bleeding state cannot be affected by any healing effects. Qinfeng consumed 2100 evolution points. Directly evolve the Blood Sea Curse to the Ancient level. The passive damage to bleeding units increased from 100% to 150%, plus the 60% bleeding damage increase from the skill Blood Art Ancient level. A total of 10% independent damage increase. This wave of improvements allowed Qinfeng's overall damage to surge to 1 times the original when the Abyss Blood Sea Curse was activated. This new effect of the Mythical and Ancient levels is a bit scary. Any target that I hit will be slowed down and banned from healing by 90%. And the bleeding duration of this Abyssal Blood Sea Curse is permanent. Doesn't it mean permanent slowdown and ban on healing until the opponent dies? Qinfeng couldn't help but call it abnormal. And this skill is now Ancient level. In other words, unless you reach the Ancient level of Dispel or Purification skills, you can't remove the bleeding state. You can only watch yourself bleed to death. After dealing with the Abyss Blood Sea Curse, Qinfeng put the abyss vase back in place. After saying goodbye to the fairy Yuan, Qinfeng came to the bottom floor of the Evil Spirit Academy, the area surrounded by magma. After Qinfeng killed the first World Spine C, the golden portal left by Ashas is here. The golden light inside the door became even hotter and brighter. Kill the 3 World Spine, and you can go to the Blue Civilization. These days, the Blue Civilization opposite the portal doesn't seem to have changed much. It's time to find the second World Spine. The Eye of Knowledge, Aristotle said that the second World Spine is located in the game area, corresponding to the world's highest mountain, that is obviously Mount Everest. Located in Daxia, just as Qinfeng was about to set off, Wanya Weiyu suddenly sent a private message. Master. Just now there was a message from the mountain city saying that a mythical boss seemed to have appeared. Are you interested? This surprised Qinfeng a little. Originally, the game process of Blue Star Civilization would not produce a mythical boss, but Qinfeng killed the first World Spine, which accelerated the progress of the Civilization game. This news surprised Qinfeng a little. After all, why did they ask him if he was interested, instead of asking him to help out? So Qinfeng asked, "Mythical boss, I am definitely interested. How is the situation over there?" Soon, Wanya Weiyu explained the situation over there. It turned out that the body of the mythical boss was a scroll. The boss is called Ghost Scroll, a standard mythical boss. When Qinfeng heard the name of this boss, he really had some impression, because this is indeed the earliest mythical boss that appeared in the last world. However, this boss does not have much desire to kill for ordinary players. Only some men and women who show off their love will be targeted by this boss. After all, this boss refreshes in the wilderness of the ruins of the mountain city. In a short period of time, there are no couples going to the wilderness to show off their love, so there are no casualties for the time being. At present, in the eyes of the players in the ruins of the mountain city, this boss is in an invincible state with a gray health bar, and it is floating directly above an abandoned mine, because it is a harmless mythical boss. The abandoned mine, which is more than 100 kilometers away from the ruins of the mountain city, has become a check-in holy place for many players. Many players ran over and took photos with the seemingly harmless ghost painting. It's not that the players are too brave and don't care about their lives. The main reason is that there has been no victim since the discovery of the painting, and the most important thing is that the ruin mine is a popular leveling area outside the ruins of the mountain city, with many players coming and going. By the way, the mechanism of this boss is quite interesting. Qinfeng quickly recalled and was quite interested in the last life. He heard about this mythical boss, but did not participate in the strategy. The strategy for this mythical boss is divided into 2 venues, the inner and outer fields. Qinfeng alone cannot kill this boss. If I go into the inner field, someone in the outer field must cooperate. Then Qinfeng's first choice is naturally the Ghost Girl. The activation condition of this boss is that there must be a man and a woman in its sensing range, showing affection. When the boss is activated, some of the surrounding players will be sucked into the scroll by the boss and enter a world in the painting. The boss body is the grudge painting spirit in the painting. In short, the boss mechanism is relatively complex, and there are even some irresistible divine rule level mechanisms. With the current level of players, once this boss is activated, all the surrounding players will surely die. Even Qinfeng is the only one who can enter the inner field and kill the boss body, grudge painting spirit. Even the ghost. The conditions are not met at present, so I must go into the inner field to deal with the boss body, but someone in the outer field must cooperate, otherwise I can't cause damage to the boss, and I may even be charmed by the boss, although it's a bit troublesome. But after all, it is a mythical boss, and can be regarded as a fortune-giving boy who provides Qinfeng with evolution points, ancient equipment, and skill books. Moreover, this is a relatively rare Oriental-style boss in the God-forsaken game. I am going to take people there now. Qinfeng said to Wanya Weiyu solemnly. By the way, from now on, let all players leave the range of the boss and stop watching. Nothing happened at the moment? No, it means nothing will happen. Most importantly, don't let couples show affection next to the boss. This made Wanya Weiyu stunned. Wouldn't it be possible that someone showing affection would activate the boss? What degree of affection is considered showing affection? This question gave Qinfeng a headache. I'm not very clear about the specific standards, but holding hands and hugging definitely doesn't count. If you get closer, there will be danger at any time. Wanya Weiyu suddenly took it seriously. Okay, I understand. I'll convey it to the other side immediately. But after a while, Wanya Weiyu said again, then God, when you go over, you need to activate the boss. Do you want to prepare a couple for you? Qinfeng replied. No, I'll handle it myself. Ask someone to help activate the boss? That's totally courting death. When the boss is activated, a man and a woman showing affection are the main targets of the boss's hatred. How can ordinary people stand it? So, Qin Feng sent a message to the ghost who was leveling up. Go home. Follow me to the mountain city. Almost instantly, Qin Feng received a reply from the ghost. Oh, zero. Mountain City ruins. This is the ruins of a big city adjacent to the Sichuan ruins. There are still more than 20 million players left. More than 100 kilometers away from the city ruins, there is an abandoned mine, which refreshes various rotten animals and monsters. It is a treasure land for leveling around level 20. And now, because of the appearance of a mythical boss Ghost Spirit Scroll, more players come here. Many players come to take photos with the boss, and even line up. Brother-in-law, crawl for me. Pay attention. I received a message. If anyone shows affection next to this boss, the boss will be activated. Oh my god. I've been single since birth. Why should I show affection? That's right. There's nothing to show affection even if I want to. Who would show affection here in this godforsaken place? Anyway, there's a message from above saying that Shadow is coming to attack this boss. Wow. Shadow is coming. Then I can't leave. Shadow is more rare than boss. Don't leave. Don't leave and stay here to die. A mythical boss. Are we supposed to watch this excitement? As the official news came, groups of players quickly evacuated. Although everyone was very curious about the legendary Shadow, their own lives were the most important after all. Not many people would take the evacuation order issued by the official and conveyed to the major guilds lightly. Of course. There are still people who really don't take the official announcement seriously. Some players have been spawning monsters nearby, and some players came specifically to watch the mythical boss and have no intention of leaving, no matter where. There is some biodiversity, and in the crowd, there is even a tall and thin young man with a gloomy face, wearing a gray hood, looking up at the gloomy white ghost painting above the mine, and having an idea. Is that so? As long as you show your affection, you can activate the boss, then you all die. This young man has an extremely gloomy face, and it is obvious that he wants to take revenge on society. Daxia. Outside the ruins of the mountain city, in an abandoned mine with people coming and going, there is a strange scroll floating in the air, surrounded by many players. And some players even ran up to take photos. Above the strange scroll, there are several big words. Strange scroll lie grade. Mythical. Although it is a mythical boss, its health bar and name are both gray, and the scroll has been here for most of the day, and has never made any moves. The scroll is 3 meters long and about 2 meters high. There are some strange white fog patterns on the surface of the scroll. There seems to be a charming figure in the white fog, but it is not clear. Due to the official announcement, people were evacuated, and most of the players who were originally gathered here quickly left. I heard that this thing will be activated. Who dares to stay here and joke with their lives? But in the end, there are still hundreds of fearless people who stayed. Among them, there was a tall and thin young man wearing a gray hood. The young man had a gloomy face. After learning the conditions for activating the boss, he showed a gloomy and vengeful smile. Go to hell, he sneered secretly, and reached out to take out a basin-sized mirror from his robe. When the young man took out the mirror, he was very careful, as if it was some kind of rare treasure. But from his perspective, you can see this mirror is actually broken. On the broken mirror, there is a figure of a woman who was cut into dozens of pieces by the cracks on the mirror. But it is still moving. Alien. Let's activate this mythical boss together. After all, it is a mythical boss, and its destructive power must be very strong, right? Those people dare to say you are a ghost and dare to smash you? I must make them pay the price. Let everyone pay the price. Let everyone die. The young man roared in a low voice, while stroking the broken mirror in his hand with his fingers. Then, pale female fingers stretched out from the mirror and grabbed the frame. And then a head of a woman with black hair also stretched out from the mirror. Soon, a pale female figure in white clothes, about 6 meters tall, climbed out of the mirror. Her waterfall-like black hair covered her face, and her behavior really gave her a bit of Sadako's feeling. However, this female figure is now broken, and the white cloth on her body is all cracked like a mirror. Obviously, because of the broken mirror, the woman named Alien is also incomplete. The young man saw it and felt extremely heartbroken. Originally, how perfect was his alien? Although my whole body is burned and extremely ugly, Alien doesn't despise me. Only Alien doesn't despise me. You actually said she's a ghost? You all deserve to die? The young man's face was hideous. He stretched out his right hand and hugged the broken white-clothed woman in front of him, and his expression became gentle again. Just 100 meters away from the ghost scroll, he hugged the figure in white and started to show his affection. This scene immediately attracted the attention of many players around. Originally, when the broken white-clothed figure appeared, someone discovered it and immediately exclaimed, "Oh my god, it's Ning Kai-chen from Shancheng." When the young man hugged the white-clothed figure, someone was even more horrified. Be careful. He's going to start the operation. Run. If it was normal, everyone would just watch a joke. But at this moment, The mythical boss, Ghost Scroll, was not far away. Once the young man started to show his affection, wouldn't it be possible to activate the Ghost Scroll? Who knows what kind of danger will come when the mythical boss is activated? The players who stayed behind actually had a mentality, that is, since they knew that showing affection would activate the boss, there would be no one who would deliberately show affection to activate the boss, right? So, it seems dangerous on the surface, but it is actually very safe. But they never expected that there would be a guy like Shancheng Ningkaichen who would take revenge on society. Run. The appearance of this scene directly scared the people around them so much that their hair stood up. They rushed to run around quickly. But it was too late. When young Ningkaichen started to operate, he saw that the boss name on the Ghost Scroll not far away suddenly changed from gray to red. Obviously, this mythical boss was directly activated. However, the health bar on its head did not change from gray to red, but disappeared. When the boss was activated, the health bar of the scroll disappeared. At the same time, when all the players around were running away, a charming female laughter came out from the scroll and spread to the surrounding 10 kilometers. When the laughter came out, everyone who heard the sound had a conditioned feeling of numbness. Crisp. Too crisp? It made people want to immerse themselves in it and want to find out what kind of woman could make such a charming laugh. At this moment, not only the players who didn't run away just now, but even the players who just escaped in advance, there were still many players within 10 kilometers of this boss. When the laughter spread to the surrounding 10 kilometers area, all the players in this area were affected. Immediately, there were more than 200 people around, who were fixed by the laughter and unable to move. Just when the faces of these 200 people changed drastically and they wanted to find a way to get rid of the control, they suddenly turned into a series of human shadows and were absorbed by the eerie and strange scroll. As the figures were sucked into the scroll one by one, a number appeared above the scroll, 249. Obviously, a total of 249 people were sucked into the scroll just now. All of these 249 people disappeared from the scene and became uncontactable. In their respective friend lists, their names turned gray, as if they were sent to Qinfeng's place of judgment, and not everyone was sucked into the boss. In addition to the 249 people, there were thousands of people within a radius of 10 kilometers around the boss, all looking at this scene in doubt. What happened? Brother Ben! My brother Ben was sucked in. Oh my god. My boyfriend was also sucked in. Damn it. Why did you catch my Lingling? You might as well catch me. Some players immediately became anxious and nervous. They found that the people closest to them were all sucked into the mythical scroll. There were also some players who had nothing to do with the matter. Seeing this, they were immediately scared out of their wits and turned around and fled without thinking. Master, it's bad. Someone activated the boss next to the boss. Just when Qinfeng called the ghost and was ready to leave, Wanye Weiyu sent the latest news. This news surprised Qinfeng a little. I said that showing affection will activate the boss, who would take the initiative to die. Wanye Weiyu smiled bitterly. It's because I said the activation conditions, so someone deliberately. So soon, after Wanye Weiyu's narration, Qinfeng finally understood what was going on.